Go, you're live in there. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna bring us live right now, and we'll just do this. We'll just do this on the fly. We'll do it on the fly. Here we go.
Still not hearing anything. Oh, not connected.
All right, chat room. You heard our behind the scenes stuff. So we're trying to get Joseph Lanashki in here to join this live stream, which is cool. That's the cool thing about doing these live streams is.
Gotcha.
They don't necessarily have to be as formal as our normal shows, and to prove that, I wrangled two of my my best friends to come on the show at the last possible minute to do the show with me, just because I could, and we could do these sort of on the fly shows like this now. So, not that I will do this all the time, but let me bring these guys up. Here we go. There we go.
We're live.
We are actually live now, finally. We are actually live. Okay, so here's what's cool about this, guys. So folks that are listening in the chat room or on YouTube, so there's a couple things happening. If you tuned in last week, you know that I'm experimenting with this new hybrid thing. Joseph, you can appreciate this. I already told Martin about it. So I'm experimenting with this hybrid thing where we do sort of half the show or part of the show live, like we're doing now. We're live streaming now. It is, to prove it, it's 6:39 p.m. Pacific, and part of the show is pre-recorded. So there's a 20-minute interview that I'm going to insert that I did with all of our friends, Serge Ramelli. So I'm going to insert that and roll that during the show. And while that's rolling, we will still be here and we'll jump in the chat room and chat with you guys. And then we'll come back after that and chat a little bit more. Obviously, since I got Serge Ramelli on the show, the topic is Notre Dame. Serge is a Parisian, a native Parisian. He spent, as he'll say in the interview, he spent his first 44 years on the planet in Paris, living in Paris. He's been to Notre Dame, I think he said like over 100 times. And so the fire that recently ravaged that place hit him, in many ways, because he leads workshops there. He used to live there. It's like, losing a landmark in your own backyard, literally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're gonna so that's the whole purpose of having Serge on the show. Part of it is to roll that interview. So we'll do that. And then I wanted these two guys to come on because I want to chat about that. And you guys are world travelers, period. And you've touched on many of the landmarks on the planet. So I want to talk about that as well. Martin Bailey, how are you doing, man? You haven't been on TWiP in forever. What the heck is going on with you?
It's I think it was probably a good 3 or 4 months, but yeah, everything's good. Mm-hmm. I've been working hard building up my own sort of membership program on my website, but also finished my 3 Japan winter workshops and tours, and I'm now gearing up to go to Namibia in June, which is going to be great. That's an epic 17-day safari, and I actually have places for next year open still, so if anyone's interested. But yeah, it's going to be a great year again. Looking forward to the cold going. I love the cold when I'm out shooting, but it's nice to warm up a little bit as the spring sets in here in Tokyo.
Whenever you come on TWiP, it's you and I talk about, for some reason you have those snow monkeys behind you, right? As you do now. So now in my head, snow monkeys are forever burned in with Martin. I always think snow monkeys when I think Martin. So I think that's a good thing.
The snow monkeys are great. Absolutely wonderful.
Well, cool, man. Well, welcome on. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Also on the show is Joseph Lanashki, but for some reason, Joseph, I can't see you. Hold on, let me see if I can get you back. There you are.
You had me. Had me.
There he is, right there.
Oh,
Joseph.
Now look at that. Look, I see me and everything. How you doing there, buddy?
There's Photojoseph. How's it going, man? What are you doing?
Good. I'm waiting for you to ask me the same question you asked Martin.
Oh,
why I haven't been on in so long?
Yeah, why haven't you been on? Oh, because you haven't invited me, right?
How did you know?
See, that's how you take the wind out of an extortionist. You just, you out yourself.
Yeah, I've been doing good, man. Been doing good. Doing way too much traveling the first part of the year. So I'm glad to be back with feet on the ground. I almost didn't even go to NAB because I'd been traveling so much, and I thought I need to stay home. But at last minute, I decided to go, and I'm really glad I did. It was a great show.
You went to India though, man.
I did.
How long
Twice.
were you? Twice, right? Because you went there on a scouting trip, and then you went there just to
Yep.
go. With the group, right? So what?
With the group, right. So I went in the fall. I went over Thanksgiving for the scouting trip, and then I was home for Christmas, and then I had a trip to Guatemala, and then to India for the workshop, and then a bunch of domestic stuff, just little things. But it was a lot of time in airplanes. I already hit status for next year. How's
Nice.
that? That's right. I know. And last year I was like this close. Like, come on, I gotta get. And this year I've already hit next year. So
I don't
that's the kind of
know.
travel.
I don't know what this status thing of which you speak is. Yeah, I'm on Southwest. Southwest is like, hey, you only have 900 more flights this year to do in order to get started. So I'm not that guy, clearly.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring you all three of us up on the screen now. Here we go.
There you
we go. Very cool. Yeah. So what I was saying was this is a hybrid show, and I'm excited to experiment. As the This Week in Photo audience knows, I'm always trying to experiment with ways to find that balance between what's the best way to get information out to the audience, and use the platforms correctly, right? So, like streaming, for example, may or may not be the right format for just a strict podcast format like I do, right? Podcasting, the podcast feed, which you can subscribe to all day long, is great for that because we edit, it's beautiful. People can listen to it while they're mowing the lawn or whatever, right? But YouTube, Twitch, Facebook seem to like this kind of informal format where we can just shoot the breeze. So what I decided to do, because I like to do things that not a whole lot of other people are doing, is kind of take a page out of the news media or television's playbook and do a hybrid where, hey, we're talking, and then we'll talk about a given subject. Today is Notre Dame and travel and that sort of thing, and then I'll roll that interview. But the cool thing about this format that television can't do is we can still hang out in the chat room and keep it interactive and talk about the things that are going on in the chat. And the other cool thing about this, through the graces of technology, TWiP is streaming currently right now as I speak to YouTube, to Facebook, and to Twitch.tv. So we're going out on all three, and I see. Hopefully it's going to continue working, but I can see the chat from all three places in my window here. So it's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Hey, Joseph, you muted. Did you mute yourself? You went away. Joseph has a lattice work of technology over
I don't know why I hit that button. I did mute myself. Hey, did you jump on that Restream.io deal?
I did.
There you go.
I did. Of course. Why else would I be here?
I'm glad to hear that it's working because I was just setting it up this morning, but I haven't actually tested it yet. So awesome.
No, it works. It works. And the cool thing is, I use Inside Baseball. Folks that were on last week will know this. The software that I'm using right now to stream is called Ecamm Live. And the cool thing about Ecamm Live is not only can you stream and record, but you can also you can stream to the service called Restream.io that takes your single stream and then syndicates it out to multiple sources. They claim up to 30. I'm only using 3 right now. But it also pulls in the chat from all 3 of those services and sort of puts them all together so I can see them. Currently, I can't respond to them from this UI. So to respond, I have to go to the individual services, which are running in tabs in Chrome right now. So to help with that, Chris Berry, the TWiP community manager, is on Twitch right now, holding down the fort over there. And once we roll the interview, we can all jump into YouTube and chat and Twitch too, if that's your game. So
if we're actually monitoring the chat from all of those, then we can respond here verbally, which is much more exciting.
That's true. That is very true. Yes,
that is very true.
But we cannot respond verbally during the interview because that'll be rolling. Unless we want to talk over the interview, or I can pause it.
I see.
So so earlier today, here's another cool thing about the way that I've been doing TWiP lately. Like if you remember TWiP a couple of years ago, there was there's a lot of sort of moving parts to getting an episode out. right? So we recorded the show. Well, we had someone that was helping with the show notes, so there would be wrangling guests, getting the show notes together. Then I'd come in and audit it, get ready to do the show. It was a whole production that resulted in something very similar to what you see now today. After I've sort of streamlined things down to make it more focused. But the cool thing about this more focused level and bringing more of that control back in-house is I can do impromptu shows like this. I can, something happens topical in the world, like Notre Dame catches fire. I can call up my friend Serge Ramelli or send him a chat and say, hey, Serge, can we do a quick interview to talk about that? Or can you come on TWiP? And Serge's response was, I can't do a Parisian accent, but what he said was, yes, I can do it, but I can't do it when you do the show. So we jumped on at 3 p.m. and recorded a quick 20-minute interview with him giving his thoughts on things. We're doing this live. We got an audience listening. They can watch that interview. Plus, I'll publish the Serge interview separately as a regular TWiP episode and the audio into the feed and all that. So, it kind of works. All from a MacBook Pro, Joseph. Just saying.
It's incredible. Just incredible.
I love it. Cool, man. So Notre Dame. Joseph, have you been to Notre Dame, Paris, all that?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah. What did you think of the news? You saw the photos, right? You saw the video.
Yeah,
it's surreal, right?
Oh, it really is. It's you don't expect this kind of thing to actually be happening right now. It's just it's too much. It's too much to bear.
Yeah.
It's been amazing to see the response from, of course, the local Parisians and just their outpouring of support and love for everything that has anything to do with it. It's pretty incredible to see. I actually saw, and I'll send you the link to it so you can include it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I was following a Twitter thread from a some U.S. and American firefighter, maybe fire chief or something, talking about as much as he could about the fire and why fires like this are so hard to put out and why they're so dangerous, and a lot of really interesting information. And of course, it just makes you realize that it's shocking this thing didn't burn sooner, frankly, and just how dangerous this type of construction is. And obviously, it dates back just a little while, but it's really fascinating to read, really interesting to read.
Yeah,
and I'll send that to you so you can share it with the viewers.
Yeah. There's a ton of history, and as Serge and I were talking about in that interview, I've been to Notre Dame, and I'll let you know, I didn't do all my research about Notre Dame when we went there. Valerie was running us around Paris like crazy people, as you know. Sure. Valerie Jardin, right? She runs a fantastic workshop, and we were all over the place in Paris, and Notre Dame was on the stop. So we go in there. And I was just blown away. As I told Serge, I was like, when I got there, I didn't even know how to photograph it, because it is just, every little detail of that place is just amazing. You zoom in, it's amazing. You zoom out, it's amazing. So yeah, it was exciting. Martin, you run the world. You run all over the place. You run your workshops, like you mentioned. But you've never been to Paris. You've been through Paris, but you never. What do you have against Parisians? Like,
absolutely nothing. The thing is that I left England when I was 24, and I really didn't have the means to travel while I was in England. And of course, we're neighbors with France, so that was the time for me to go. But it wasn't the time in my life, just because of the various constraints. I did drive through Paris on my way to, not drive through, I was on a bus on my way to Spain when I was literally a kid still. But that's the only, as close as I got. It is incredibly sad though. And watching the footage on the news of everything going up in flames, there was some, on a news program last night, there were some of the first photos that we get in here in Japan from the inside of the building now that the flames are all out and everything. And I'm actually surprised to see how much of the main stone structure is still in place.
Yeah.
It looks like the pipe organ is still there, and those pipes on pipe organs are very they're very soft metal. And so it wouldn't have surprised me if that had all just melted away, but it's all still there. So hopefully it's, obviously it's going to be a huge job restoring it back to its former glory, but I was surprised to see that there is so much of the solid structure still left.
Yeah, and I was too. And it's the news continues to roll in about that. About the let me see if I can get Joseph back on this split screen here.
Interesting layout there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we just love all Martin all the time. And there's Joseph. But it's interesting to see because, like I was saying, news continues to roll in. Right as we were getting ready to do this show, there was an announcement that Disney had donated $5 million to the effort, the restoration effort. Serge mentioned that $600 million from individual contributors has been raised already. $600 million, already. And the thing is still smoldering, right? So $600 million has been raised. So who knows what the final tally was going to be. And as Serge mentioned in the interview, everything has a silver lining. Even when I went there, Joseph, I bet when you went there as well, there was reconstruction and renovation efforts going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you couldn't get the shots that you wanted because there's lattice work over here and all that. Maybe with $1 billion, they'll just get the whole thing finished, restored back to what its previous, former glory, and the restorations will be over, and hopefully it'll be better than it was before. But we'll see.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
I saw Tim Cook tweeted that Apple was going to be donating money as well. He didn't say how much. It's typical Apple, but it's nice to know that they're
Apple has $1 billion in the seat cushions. They could just send that over and get it done. Yeah, but then we'd have an Apple logo at the top of one of the spires.
Oh man. Maybe a store in the basement.
A store in the basement, maybe just a small one, Crazy. All right, guys. So I want to come back and chat with you guys a little bit more, and then we'll roll that interview with Serge, which you guys will be able to see and hear as well. But before that, I want to thank the sponsor for this episode of This Week in Photo, and that's our friends over at Capture One, who are an amazing sort of post-processing software that's going head-to-head with Lightroom. So go ahead and check them out at twip.pro/capture1, twip.pro/capture1. In the TWiP Pro community, they've been kind of the talk du jour of the community, of people some people moving over from Lightroom. And I know there's a lot of people, like Ziv Galat was on the show last week, and he is a diehard Lightroom user, and he has his own comments about Capture One versus Lightroom, which we're leaning towards Lightroom. So it's interesting to see that there's competition in the space now, and that companies like Capture One and Serif with Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer and different apps like that are coming up to sort of give us alternatives to the Creative Cloud ecosystem. Capture One jumped in to sponsor this show because they're just awesome people, and they want to be in front of other photographers that take their photography seriously. And I'm happy to have them on board. So welcome to the fray, Capture One. Head over to twip.pro/capture1 and just download a trial, play around with it. It doesn't cost you anything. Knock it around, see if it fits you, and if so, grab it. Anyway, Capture One, twip.pro/capture1. All right, guys. So, do you guys know Serge? You guys know Serge Ramelli? Have you met him?
Only through the podcast.
Only through the podcast? Only through TWiP. Mm-hmm. See, TWiP, bringing worlds together. That's what we do. We bring worlds together.
Hey, Frederick, you probably didn't recall or know that I'm a Capture One ambassador. I've been using it for a couple of years now.
Get out of here!
Amazing
How come I
program.
didn't know that?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I have a whole bunch of. I actually did their the new features video for phase one for the Capture One product when they updated a couple of months ago. So
oh wow,
if people go and check out their what's new in Capture One, they will see my video.
Oh, very cool. So I gotta get you on. We gotta get you on one of the TWiP webinar in the TWiP webinar series to talk about Capture One to get your thoughts on
sure.
it. Yeah, I've had Troy Miller on, who's a wedding photographer down in the Southern California Riverside area, and he was talking about Capture One from a wedding photographer standpoint. It was a great webinar. Then next month we've got David Grover coming on, whom I'm sure you.
Oh,
you
David's
know.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, David. He's one of those people that's forgotten more about the software, I'm sure, than I'll ever know. So, so he's coming on to talk about it, and yeah, it should be interesting. Joseph, you're not using Capture One, are you? What do you use for your post processing?
Not on a daily basis. I've used it just for training stuff, but no, I'm using Lightroom CC, actually, the cloud version.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, it's good. That competition's good though, regardless.
Oh yes,
competition
definitely
is
is.
good. Yeah, Joshua Sommerfeld is in the chat room, and he's been trying to migrate over to Capture One and hitting his head against the wall trying to learn it. There's a little bit of a learning curve, I think, trying to get into the app, especially if you've burned in the synapses from other apps, right? But cool. All right, guys, let's roll this interview that I did earlier with Serge Ramelli, all about his experiences and also some ways that you can contribute to the world of getting Notre Dame restored back to its former glory. Stand by. Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. Tonight's show is all about, we try to do topical shows. We try to do, technical shows, political shows, all those sorts of things. Every now and then something tragic happens that is affecting lots of people, photographers included. Today, I'm lucky enough to have my friend, Mr. Serge Ramelli, on, who is a photographer and also a Parisian and Los Angelino resident. And he's going to be talking to us about sort of his experiences growing up around Notre Dame and how this tragedy has affected him in some ways that, maybe all of us can sort of pitch in to help and get that treasure back to the state of that it was just a couple of weeks ago. All right, Serge Ramelli, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Frederick. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to have you on. You and I, God, it's so weird how fast time goes, right? You and I have known each other for a while now. We were just talking before I started recording, and you just, what was it, 5 years ago? You and I were sitting in Paris.
6 years ago, because I moved here October 2014, and you helped me to get my original O1 visa, and we made about a year before. So we made like in 2000, I want to say 13, somewhere in 2000. Yeah, so it's been like almost 6 years. We had that beautiful fish dinner in Paris, close to Notre Dame. Actually,
that was fantastic.
It was 2 blocks away from Notre Dame. Yeah, what a tragedy.
Oh my God, that was 2 blocks from Notre Dame that we had that. That's crazy. That is crazy. And thank you for that dinner, by the way. That was delicious.
No problem.
So let's dive right into this. So Notre Dame, just to set the stage for people that may not know what happened. Notre Dame is a cathedral in Paris. It took 100 years to build it, over 800 years old. Some things that are notable about this place is that, and these are the notes I shared with you, Serge, that I just took, just sort of doing my research to be prepared to talk to you, was that this is the place where Joan of Arc was beatified. That means she was blessed there. This is a place where Napoleon was made emperor, right? In this location. I mean, it goes on and on and on. This is the place where some of the artifacts there are the crown of thorns that reportedly adorned Christ's head during the crucifixion. So that's there, and luckily that survived, as well as they even have one of the nails that were used to crucify Christ, and that is housed there as well, right?
Yeah. It's like, with the Eiffel Tower, which is not religious, but it's like the 2 symbol of Paris. So, I mean, when I saw the images, I couldn't believe, because the flame was so high that it looked like 9/11. To be honest, I was afraid that it was like a terrorist thing, and because that's always really bad for everybody, but it was not. Apparently, I mean, they're still investigating, but apparently it's just an accident. They were renovating. I was actually there in November, and I was trying to get them photos, but there was so much scaffolded and so much paint and renovations. There was a lot of chemicals there, so I can imagine that an accident, can be bad. But the fire caught on really high, and luckily they saved the 2 towers, which is really the face. I mean, the flesh, went down. There was sort of 2 arrows that went down, which is really bad. But 2 main towers still survive. I saw the photo of the next morning. My son went there. I'm actually flying there on Sunday. because I was supposed to do a workshop. I'm still doing a workshop there. I'm just not going to shoot, go up to the top of Notre Dame as planned.
Yeah.
Which is really, I mean, I've been shooting this for 15, 16 years now, and it's a tragedy. I mean, the good thing though is that, I mean, all the Parisian went crazy, donating money. $600 million, I heard, was raised in one night, and the president announced that he wants to have it fully rebuilt in 5 years. So it's such a symbol for France that they are going all in.
Yeah, it is. It is a symbol for France, and it's a symbol for a lot of the Europe and the world, right? As a sort of a symbol of Gothic architecture, and other cathedrals were sort of built based on what they did at Notre Dame, right? Yeah,
there was this famous story where this king, I forget which one from England, visited Notre Dame and says that, and then said, "I want the same thing." That became Westminster or something, or
Westminster Abbey. Yeah,
exactly. Westminster Abbey was, because the king saw it. I mean, it's unbelievable. I am not a Catholic myself, but the beauty and the aesthetic and the spirituality from that church, I've been there 100 times. It's unparalleled. It's a real tragedy, But the one thing I kind of want to hold on to is that all the French, and we have so much international support of rebuilding it. Everything is toward that life is back. Chomeau's gone, and let's put it back together stone by stone. And I think that's great.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, that's part of for me, that's part of the inspirational part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
The inspiration and the beauty that comes out of a tragedy, and how people around the world are pulling together to help restore this priceless sort of location on the planet, right?
Yeah, and luckily nobody got armed, which is always cool, And anyways, just remembered. I have so much memory because as a photographer, it's probably the number one place I have shot in my whole career. It's like the number one item. So, and I've been shooting it for 15 years, all different angles. It's just an amazing place.
As a photographer, what's the most exciting thing about Notre Dame to shoot? Like when you go there? Because when I went there, it was just overwhelming. It just felt overwhelming, and the only way I felt I could capture it was to shoot the whole thing from, get the whole thing in there. I look at your shots, and your shots are amazing.
Yeah, I mean, two things that I find. I mean, I do have some connections, so I found like there's hotels. I actually went on the roof of the Hotel Notre Dame where you can. And I have a famous photo that was a pano taken from that roof. That's the only angle you can get. But I would say the usual angle when you're behind Notre Dame, there is a bridge called the Pont de l'Archevêché. I don't know how you say it in English, but Pont de l'Archevêché.
Yeah, I'm not going to try that.
Bridge that's right behind that, and you have this sort of leading line with Notre Dame. And what's funny is that in April, May, June, and July, the sun sets right on the Seine River, where you have Notre Dame on your right. You'll see a lot of these photos in the article I sent you. And so it's just it's a photographer's dream where you have an amazing subject, you got leading lines, you got a great foreground, middle ground, background, and if you're lucky to get a sunset, you just get a picture that you can get once in a lifetime.
That's
it's
great.
Just it's Paris at its best because the way you can frame Notre Dame, because it's on an island, there's not so much cars around. I mean, it's actually rather easy to get amazing photos. The only thing that's kind of hard is if you go in front of it with the plaza with all the people, that's going to be hard. But if you go behind it or on top of it, you have something called the Seven Bridge view. It's the only view of Paris where you can see the Seine River, doing like an S curve, and you can see actually 7 bridges. It's a very, very famous photo that photographers have been doing for a century. And you're going to have the Gargouille. I gave you one of this photo in the link I sent you. Mm-hmm. The Gargouille, as a foreign element in Paris as a background. So really shooting behind and on top was my 2 favorite spots in Paris. And that's gone now. I hope it's going to come back fast. Personally, I don't like to shoot, I want to remember how beautiful it is. I don't like the idea of shooting it, broken down.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's going to come back up fast.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. That's you took my question, because I was wondering, this is a big event, right? I mean, it is photo worthy, right? So you're not going to photograph it?
It completely is. I mean, I saw some of the photos, where you see, I mean, it looks like 9/11.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, and this is a very personal opinion, I am a very optimistic person and try to be positive in a way. And so it's it's a policy that I have that I don't forward negative photos. It's just, that's who I am. I want to show the beauty of the world, not the tragedy of the world.
Yeah.
But this is personal. I mean, my son's was like crying last night because he didn't get a shot of the fire. I was like, okay, that's on you. But I wouldn't. I mean, I don't think I will do it. Or unless it brings some kind of hope. Like, if I'm walking the street and I see a car accident and somebody dying, I'm not going to take a photo of it and post it on social media. I'm just not. I think my role as a photographer is to share beauty, not to share tragedy. That's just me.
I love that. That's a good way to be. Yeah, there's enough people sharing tragedy in the world, right? So
yeah, I think we need to counterbalance that, and that's why on the post that I did was, here is how I remember Notre Dame, and here it's how it's going to come back to us. Yeah. That's what I want to put attention on. But that's just me. I'm sort of like crazy positive, or trying to be positive guy.
I love it. Your positivity comes through in the videos that you do as well. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Paris, in that area, and the workshops that you do there. So you have a superpower and an advantage over a lot of photographers, much like our mutual friend Valerie Jardin, right?
So Valerie does a lot of street photography. I do actual Paris photography.
Yeah.
So mostly monuments and so it's a 4-day workshop that I'm doing on the 14th of May in Paris. I'm actually doing one in Venice and one in Tuscany before that, but the Paris one is from the 14th to the 18th. It's 4 days. And one evening I have to work something out, because one day was fully Notre Dame, where we started by shooting at the rooftop, and we go down and we do this whole sunset thing. So I'm going to have to replace that one day. But I'm 49 now, and I've been living in Paris for 44 years.
Oh wow!
And shooting it for over 12. So, I got like special locations where you can get like views of Paris that tourists don't have access to. Special frame in the frame of the Eiffel Tower or the roof of Paris or things like this. I also want to bring people to the classical shots, but I'm also going to bring them to sort of hidden places, so they get this sort of Paris iconic shots, but not the one that everybody's getting.
Yeah. So no mimes, Serge, please. No mimes, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I want to transition away from that, and so you like you said, you spent 44 of your years in Paris, but now you're in Los Angeles. And there's a reason, and you have residences in Paris and Los Angeles, but there's a reason you're in LA. Tell us about that. Why LA?
LA, because I've been I've been dreaming of being an actor my entire life. I even got into photography because of acting, which is crazy. I'll tell you the story really short, but wanted to be an actor when I was a kid. Got into computers and into sales. Did really well into sales, but when I arrived at the age of 34, 35, I was like, I'm going to do this all my life. I'm going to arrive at the age of 70. And I would have never given a chance to my dreams. And my dreams was really being an actor and a filmmaker. And so in 2004, I started training on being a filmmaker. But this was 4 years before the 5D Mark II, Canon 5D Mark II came out, where you could shoot videos. And I don't know if you remember this period, but before 2008, the only way to get video was there was no phones doing videos. There was nothing could do videos except, Panasonic's I forgot what the name, PH1 or whatever it's called, which was like an $8,000 camera. Yeah. And that had like no bokeh, so very, very large depth of field, really ugly pictures. It was really hard to get something. The only thing that was giving good video back then was actual film, 32, 60 millimeter film. And so I tried to do some of that, but it was so hard that I sort of gave up, went into acting lessons, and had a couple of failed actors as teachers. They were, just communicating how much it was hard. So that was not very inspiring as a teacher.
This is how you fail as an actor, right?
Yeah. I mean, some actor teachers are amazing, but some are failed artists themselves, and you feel that that's where they communicate. You think you're going to be a star, it's going to be hard, or it's a hard blah blah blah. Anyway, every dream has got its Darth Vader and things which are hard, so it's whatever. Yeah. But back in 2004, I was trying to make short movies, and I was completely failing at it. I went on vacation in the Guadalupe with a friend and I had a Sony camera, and I took a photo of a girl, and he showed me Photoshop for the first time in my life, because there was a lot of tourists behind. It was a beautiful girl, but there was a lot of stuff, and he says, there's a software called Photoshop. You can erase the people behind. I'm like, no, you're serious. He says, yeah. So he showed me Photoshop for the first time, and it was the biggest epiphany moment of my life, because I realized until I can figure out how to be an actor or a filmmaker, I can at least create something artistic, which is take photos. So I went back to work, as the VP sales of my company, of my brother's company. And then, but after work, I started taking photos just for getting some art in my life. And I did this for literally 6 years, while training until I had a pretty badass collection of Paris, 6 years in the making, shooting almost every night, watching tutorials almost every night for 6 years straight. And that's how I got into photography. And then later on to teaching. And now, I moved to Hollywood because I had an opportunity to team up with some people here, and we made a movie called The Hollywoodans. Came out on Amazon Prime last year.
Nice.
It's a comedy about a French guy, me, being in Hollywood and trying to make it and falling in love with a beautiful girl, but who's totally given up her dream on being an actor. And I have an angel following me around in Hollywood who is a bit of a crazy dude, and only I can see him, and he's giving me crazy advice to make it in Hollywood. It's a pure comedy, and that was the first movie. So I produced it with Canon. Canon friends helped me produce. They gave us all the camera, the lenses, everything. $110,000 worth of gear to shoot the movie. Yes, it was crazy. So there was a full sponsor by Canon. And then, so I was the lead actor and I was the producer. And now I'm working on 2 other projects where I might play a small part as an actor, but it's made me as a filmmaker. So it's like my first debut as a filmmaker. So that's really why I'm here in Los Angeles. There's no other reason why I'm here than just making movies.
I love that, man. So that movie is called The Hollywoodant, and
yes.
it's available on Amazon Prime today, right now.
Today, 100%. Yeah,
that's cool. So I think you may be my only friend that has an IMDb listing. So you're in IMDb, right?
Oh yes, I am.
That's cool, man. That is cool. Okay, so let's wrap up. I know you got to head off to a shoot in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
So if people want to, we started this interview with Notre Dame, right? So people want to help with that and support that effort. You've set up a mechanism where they can not only support Notre Dame, but you've given an incentive where they can get some of your courses. And I wanted to be clear in this, because we're all marketers, right? That you're not getting any profit from the tragedy of Notre Dame.
I'm actually losing a lot of money, to be honest.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. A lot of people wrote me on social media, like, how can I do? What can I help? So I did some research. I found out there was 2 ways you can help, which is basically donating money to rebuild. And one website was pretty international. One was more local. So it's the official, website of Notre Dame. And I call my webmaster, says, can we make a deal so that if they give money to rebuild Notre Dame, we can give some courses. And I decided to give my lone exposure workflow course. It's a 1.5 hour course on lone exposure, how to use ND filters. There's a lot of Notre Dame shoot in that course. Then I'm giving my CD scan masterclasses, how I've made my books. I've made 5 books on 5 different cities. Yeah. With the 2nd largest publisher in the world. So it's all about that. And the third one is, I forgot what was the first one. That was the third course I gave as part of this. Oh yeah, the composing masterclass, which is more on finding the right composition. It's about 7 or 8 hours of free training.
Wow.
And so it's just, whatever amount you're giving, if you're giving it, then you can go and you can claim your course by showing a proof, screenshot of your receipt, and we'll send the course. It got crazy overnight, 400 people. We gave over 400 package of this 8 hours training.
Wow.
Like the photographer community has been helping. So the money doesn't go through me at all. You give the money to Notre Dame, you have a receipt, you show it to us, and we'll give you the course for free. And I'm only doing this to help. This is people which could have bought the course. I probably will lose a lot of money in the process. But, we got to pitch in and do something. So that's what I'm trying to do.
I love that. That's an example of using your superpowers for good, right? Right there.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of influence on social media. So, and Scott Kelby, and you've been helping me. Scott Kelby has been talking about it on the grid. I think Petapixel might do an article about it. F-Stopper. the whole community is trying to help, and I hope other people will do that. Maybe you will do that, or you can, whatever. I mean, everybody can do what they want.
Absolutely.
But, it's just a great way to to focus the attention on positivity, which is, let's make it even nicer than it was.
I love it. I love it. Better than it was before should be the tagline there.
Yeah, I wish they would meet the stairs a bit. I don't know if you've been up there, but
no, I haven't.
I had to literally, Scott Kelby could literally not pass. I had to push him up. He knows the story,
That's awesome. I got to ask Scott about
that.
that.
It's very narrow. So maybe
I love it.
That's not true, because that's the tower, and the tower hasn't been touched by the fire. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's a tragedy, and I'm happy that, I was really afraid the whole thing was going to fall down.
Yeah.
Because if the two towers would have fallen down, that would have been like Paris, would have not looked like Paris. So it's already bad, but I think the fire was finished by 1 o'clock in the morning. Like it started at 6, and at 1 it was like finished in 7 hours. They killed the fire without using a helicopter like Trump said to do, which would have probably destroyed the entire church.
Right. Right.
I can tell he's not a fireman.
Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
But so what they did is I saw, because I watched the whole thing from different angles, and what they did is they really went on for the tower, protecting the tower, and protecting the back. So only the middle of the roof collapsed. And I mean, it's bad. It's, you're talking probably $1 billion of damage. So it's really bad. But they raised $600 million in overnight. It's crazy, and with, all the people, I mean, people want to help, it's the money. I don't think it's going to be an issue. So that's good.
Yeah. I think they'll raise that money in no time. Like you said, 600 million, 700 million in just a couple of days. So it's just now it's just a matter of time until they get it done.
Well, the president said he committed himself for 5 years, because some people were saying 10 years. He said 5 years. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, honestly, I've always seen Notre Dame under renovations. My entire 44 years I've been visiting it.
It was under renovations when I was there. Yeah.
It's always a section under renovation. So, I mean, right now there's no roof, so it's bad. But
maybe this is a chance for the renovations to get finished, and it'll just be completely done and ready to go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because I think they were lacking money or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have the details. Anyway, so
well, cool. So if people want to support, so obviously they can go to your website. So what's your website URL again?
Okay, so that's the problem, is that it's not on the homepage. I should probably put it on the homepage, but it's Photosurge. Can you put it in the notes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll put the link. I'll put the link on the blog post for this episode, as well as in the YouTube comments, so people can find it.
Yeah, it's the actual link. It's pretty simple. It's photosurge.com/save-not-dam.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you can put the link, that'd be awesome. You can get, it's also a way to thank you for helping us in this cause, and I'm giving you 8 hours of free training in exchange. And whatever the amount it is, do as much as you can. But, we have given this course for people who are just giving $10, Some people are giving $100. The average donation is more like $50. But, whatever you can, it makes a difference.
Love it. Serge, my friend, thank you for coming on, man. Just so people know, Serge is like you're probably one of the busiest people I know, and you jumped on with me just through an email and a text message to do this. So
you're a good friend, Frederick. I've been following you for like 7 years now. What you do for the community is amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for doing this, man, and good luck with everything, and safe travels out there, and good luck with those workshops. You said you had 3 coming up, right? So Venice, Paris, and Florence.
I'm starting off with Venice. Mm-hmm. If you go to photosurge.com and you go to the workshop section, Venice is already fully booked, so I took it out. But you still have some place on the Florence. So 2 days in Florence, 2 days in Tuscany, and then 4 days in Paris. There is still some seats available for this one. Venice is completely booked.
Wow. Well, if you could manage it, go on these workshops. And if you can't go on the workshops, go to Serge's website and just, follow him. The tutorials are perfect.
Thank you so much.
All right, man. All right. You have a good rest of your day and safe travels, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Ciao, Frederick. Bye-bye.
Okay. See ya. This is TWiP. Fantastic. Serge Ramelli I love talking to that guy, and I don't know if you caught it during the beginning of that interview, but Serge and I went to Paris with Valerie Jardin for that workshop, and then met up one of the days. I met up with Serge, and we hung out. We did some episodes for his podcast, and then we went to dinner at this fantastic. I don't know if it's famous, but this fantastic place that is owned by people in his family or something. So we got the royal treatment there. So I'm like, this is Paris. So if you're gonna experience Paris, experience Paris with a Parisian that grew up there and hung out there and takes you to places that tourists don't get to go to. So that was good. So since then, we've been really, really good friends. He's a marketer that I admire, a photographer that I aspire to be close to what he knows how to do, and it is just good stuff. So guys, what'd you think of that? Joseph and Martin, what'd you think of the interview? I don't know if you guys were listening. I know, Martin, you were listening. Joseph, you're filing your taxes late or something.
Just a little bit late. I'm working over here. This is the last minute ask, so I'm kind of doing other things right now.
It was. I appreciate you coming on. I know. So that was interesting what Serge said. So that being able to have the horsepower, I don't know how big Serge's email list or his following is, but to have some calamity like this happen and be able to leverage that and use the power of that to help, and he said during that interview that yesterday he had the epiphany of, hey, let me do this thing where I'm going to give away a bunch of my courses. Just show me the receipt from the Notre Dame website that you donated money, and I'll give you these courses. And he said 400 people so far since yesterday, I guess, have donated. And after this, I put the URL on the screen during that interview, and it'll be in the description for this video and on the TWiP blog post. But I'm assuming he's going to get many, many more than that. So, it's just amazing how that happens. Joseph, have you seen anything like that? That kind of outpouring of the community, around these parts of the planet? I don't know if that happens over here. People tend to.
I don't know. There's always outpouring of support for any tragedy, any event, but this seems unprecedented. This is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are really. It's not. Everybody there has a personal connection, right? Everybody in Paris has a personal connection to it. It's even if it's just because something you see every once in a while going through town. It's there. It's in their life. It's like an anchor for that city. Paris without it would be awful. I mean, not awful, but you know what I mean. It would just be. It's such a change. It wouldn't be the Paris that we all know and love. So
yeah,
it's easy to understand why people are so enigmatic about it.
It is. One of the interesting things I think about when I see this kind of outpouring for a landmark, a historic artifact that site is. Here in Silicon Valley in California, we don't really have any. We don't really have any landmarks because the entire place. Martin, in Tokyo, there's plenty of landmarks, right? I mean, all over the place. There's things that if you look at them, they identify as Tokyo. New York, the Brooklyn Bridge, the Freedom Tower, now the Statue of Liberty. All kinds of things are indicative of this is New York. We don't have anything like that here. Do you guys have anything like what's in Tokyo?
Gate.
What's that?
You got the Golden Gate Bridge.
We have the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, but we have more. We have companies. We have Google. We have Apple. We got all those companies there. So if those went off the map, people would be upset. So, and in Tokyo, what is it? Tokyo Tower, right? There's Tokyo Tower there.
Right.
Tokyo Tower's still a very iconic structure, but they built a new one, the Sky Tree, which is the new
tree. What's that?
It's huge, towering over the city, and it's a nice place. I've been and peered up at it. I haven't actually been up to the top yet. Generally with things like that, I wait until people get bored of it before I go because I can't be doing with standing in crowds and crowds of people. So. But yeah, they've got plenty. We've even got a Statue of Liberty here in Tokyo in a place called Odaiba. It was given to us by France again, I think, but it's like a small version of the original.
Wait, is it called the Statue of Liberty?
Yeah,
or is it the Statue of Liberty?
Oh my God!
Boom! I'm here all week.
Obviously in Japanese they call it the what is it? Jiu no Megami, I think they call it, which is like literally the goddess of freedom. So it's but it's there, and it's just sort of, it was pretty cool. But we've got all sorts here.
We don't have anything like that in Silicon Valley, man.
I mean, as Joseph just pointed out, the first thing that I did when I had a chance to go to San Francisco was grab my camera and went over to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
My brother was in the military, and when I was a kid, one of the first things I recall him ever bringing back for me was a silk wallet, which had got a print of the Golden Gate Bridge on it. I was really proud. I'm still like knee high, and I was really proud that my brother was off overseas going to see things. So it was nice to actually go and photograph it myself. I was with a friend. I think at the time it was with a friend named Jack Andrews, who runs an IT company or two, and a very, very good friend there. But it was nice to go, and I think that there are places, of course, in San Francisco, in a lot of California that I think people still enjoy visiting. Maybe not quite as iconic as like the Empire State and things like that, but yeah. It's a nice place.
I think in the Bay Area here, the Silicon Valley, San Francisco Bay Area, I think San Francisco itself, the city of San Francisco, is our landmark. Right? The entire thing, especially if you look at it from Treasure Island, back on in, it is that's the city is iconic. It is our landmark. So, guys, I want to do a couple things. Martin, while we were rolling that interview, you mentioned, as you were talking about, you're a Capture One ambassador. You mentioned you have a bunch of training and tutorials out. What's the deal with those? Because I didn't even know about that, and I've been sort of scouring for different voices beyond David Grover, because he's the expert, but I want different perspectives. What are yours about?
Well, I basically a couple of years ago, when I first switched from Lightroom, I decided, as obviously people that are doing the sort of things that we do, that I was going to document it. And so I started with a discussion about how I tested Capture One, and I was very, very impressed with the image quality. And I did a few things. I spent an afternoon checking that I was able to do a lot of the stuff that I needed to do. And there are a couple of things that it doesn't do as well as Lightroom, but there were, some of the key things like image quality, which is pretty important for a photographer. I saw detail in images that I'd never seen before. I didn't even know existed. And so I decided to jump ship, and I've basically been documenting it for the last 2-3 years. And
kind of your journey from Lightroom through Capture One?
Most of them are tutorials, but if you use the short link mbp.ac/co tutorial, that will take you to a page that lists all of the, it's basically a search for the tag, but it will take you to a page that lists all of the tutorials, and most of them have a post and a video.
Oh, cool.
And
I'll link to that so people don't have to rewind. I'll put a link to that in the description and the blog post. Excellent.
Thank you. But yeah, they're all videos and of how I jumped ship. Some of them are tutorials into actually help you jump in ship. Others are more about the new features and things that you can do. Like one of them is to make a beautiful black and white photo. I really like nice contrasty black and whites, and so one of the tutorials walks you through how to do that. I always used to use the Nik software.
Yeah.
I think it was Google. Now it's is it
DxO has it.
DxO has it now. I used to use Silver Effects Pro and Color Effects Pro quite a lot on my landscape work. I haven't had to use it for the last 3 years since jumping ship. So I do everything now. Pretty much 99.9% of my images are processed only in Capture One, and that saves me from having to save or stops me from having to save a TIFF or a PSD file of the images as well. So
I've
really enjoyed it.
Have you left the ecosystem of the Creative Cloud yet? Are you?
No, I still have the Creative Cloud. Every week I use InDesign to make an ebook for my posts for my paying members. I use Photoshop occasionally. I record my podcasts in Audition. So
okay. So
but I don't install Lightroom anymore. I have no need to. But everything I've got Illustrator, InDesign, a lot of the main ones. So for me, it's still necessary to be in the Creative Cloud, and I've got nothing against. I actually had one of the Lightroom developers join. Didn't know until the first evening, but on my landscape trip here in Hokkaido, in Japan this year, one of the developers from the landscape team was on the trip, and he just said, he said, oh, and by the way, I developed, and we had a great conversation about what I like about Capture One, and we talked about what I would love to see Lightroom do next. But yeah, I've got nothing against Lightroom, Adobe, anything. I always really enjoyed the product. I thought I was going to be with it forever, but Capture One showed me detail in my images that I couldn't ignore.
It's the right tool for the right job and the right person, right? Joseph, speaking of training, you have some training up there, 1 or 2 courses, right?
1 or 2.
1 or 2, and you've got Lightroom courses up there as well. What's your take on that? I mean, are you not from a which one is better than the other one standpoint, but Lightroom, and the reason why you're a proponent of it and you use it in your commercial work as well as you do training on it. What drives your love of Lightroom?
It's the cloud integration, the fact that I can get to everything on all devices. That's ultimately the main driver. That's what I wanted Aperture to become, but obviously it never got anywhere near close to that. And then that's what Apple Photos is. However, Apple Photos doesn't have anywhere near the feature set. And then when Lightroom CC dropped out of the sky, if you will, it had everything in that regard that I wanted. Didn't have the features, but they've been adding them, and it's pretty much where I need it to be right now. There's very little that I can't do for my workflow in there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We as photographers, Martin, I'm going to take you out of this because you're an outlier in this, and you'll understand why, because you are very pragmatic about the tools that you use, both software and cameras, and you're not on that Ferris wheel of upgrading, right? You got something new.
At least I'm using mirrorless now.
Oh, at least you're like 5 years after the rest of the train. But I mean, it's interesting that it is about the tools, right? I mean, it's about what works with you. This is the perfect trifecta of Martin. You're using Capture One. You're not using it because you're sponsored by them or because you need to or because of you hate Adobe. It's just the right thing to get your work done, Joseph. And you're using Lightroom because the same reasons, it's not because you hate Capture One. It's like, I love the cloud integration. I love A, B, and C. There's no one right answer for anyone when it comes to picking whatever. In Silicon Valley, we call it your technology stack, right? There's no one right answer to picking what your technology stack is going to be. It's based on what you want to do, what you have to do, what your budget is, and, what you can convince your spouse of letting you get, right? So, and it goes from there. So cool. This is a great show, guys. I love this format. This format is informal. It's clean. I think one of the things that I want to add into the next one, and I'll do this on next week's show, which, by the way, Thomas Hawk will be joining the show. Either, I'm not sure if he's going to be live or Memorex, but he will be on the show in one way or another. And the topics are going to be Flickr and SmugMug and that ecosystem. But this doing this sort of informal flow is interesting. From having done hundreds of these, hundreds of shows and hundreds of interviews, doing a show this way takes the pressure off in some ways. It also allows me to be more of a Photojoseph and be more engaged with my audience. Because when you do your shows, Joseph, you're 110% engaged with your audience because you're not necessarily on a scripted flow. And I'm learning. I'm learning from the best here as we do this. Joseph, tell us about your show, by the way. You're doing one tomorrow morning, right?
I am. Well, tomorrow's is going to be just a kind of an AMA show, just because I've got too many other things doing right now to plan what I had wanted to plan for tomorrow. So is what it is. But yeah, typically the show is twice a week. I've been kind of playing with the format a little bit, and my goal right now, although I haven't quite hit it yet, is to do one pure live show a week and one that is a premiere. So that means it's an edited show like you would just regularly upload to YouTube, but it premieres at a certain time, and then I do a live Q&A after. And I've done a few of those, and it's a cool way to do it because you get the kind of best of both. You get the whole live interaction, but you also get the pre-shots, over time, edited together, perfect polished, uploaded video like you would normally add to YouTube.
Yeah.
But for anybody who's never seen the show before, it's Photojoseph's Photo Moment. It's all about photo and video, gear and technique.
Love it. Cool, guys. And
YouTube.com/Photojoseph.
Say that again? I missed that.
YouTube.com/Photojoseph.
Perfect. There you go. Yeah, head over to that right after the show's over. Martin, what's your URL? Where would you like people to go to check out the stuff that you're working on, sign up for your tours, etc.?
Everything is linked from martinbaileyphotography.com, and I'm currently building out a new menu system that I've grafted in, and moved to a new server so that I can support this and another few things. But yeah, if you go over to the martinbaileyphotography.com website, you'll see a relatively rich menu with all of the stuff in there. So the tours and workshops menu will only show you the tours that are currently open for booking. And a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, it's all there. Social networks and everything are all linked as well. So
all right,
take a look.
Very cool. All right, as we evolve this, there's a couple things that I will add into this format. Like I said, starting with next week, there'll be the listener Q&A that will come back in. And also the pick of the week. Josh, I see you in the chat complaining about that. So the pick of the pick of the week is coming back, sir, and all that stuff is coming back. But this is kind of wobbly, fresh out of the womb kind of show. Where you got to make sure that everything is working properly before you start hitting the ground running. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited to be doing this. Thank you guys for coming on. And one last shout out to our sponsor for this episode. And that's our friends over at Capture One, made by Phase One. You can check out their software over at TWiP.pro/Capture One. That's TWiP.pro/Capture One. All right, guys, that's the end of the show. If you guys want to subscribe to TWiP, just head over to thisweekinphoto.com/subscribe, or just go to thisweekinphoto.com. All of the stuff that we do is there, including the TWiP Pro community, our store, which is launching next week. The webinars are there. You can sign up for upcoming webinars like the Capture one that's coming up, et cetera, et cetera. All roads lead to my Rome, which is thisweekinphoto.com. Thanks to both of you guys for coming on. I appreciate both of you, especially doing it at the last minute, especially you, Martin, because you're on a slightly different time zone than Joseph and I.
Yeah, so it's like I got a text. I couldn't tell who it was because I'd not actually texted you before. And then it was like, are you free in 10 minutes? I'm like, yeah, okay.
Exactly.
I love this stuff.
I love it. Technology, the world is smaller than it ever was. All right, folks. Thanks a lot. And thanks to all the folks that participated in the chat on twitch.tv, on YouTube, and on Facebook. And with that, it is time to take that lens cap off. This is TWiP.